Alright guys, welcome to module 2. So in this module we're going to talk about mastering disputes, essentially how to know what items to dispute, how to know which item is being reported inaccurately so you can attack those. Remember, by law, the credit reporting agencies have to report everything 100% accurate, not 90% accurate, not 99% accurate. It has to be 100% accurate. And that's how you get deletions. You get deletions if an account is being reported inaccurately or it just cannot be verified whatsoever, right? So that's what we're gonna go over into in this module. All right. So the idea here is to actually dispute the data, not your feelings, not how you feel about the data, not how you feel about your score, but you are disputing the data itself. So here are 4 reasons that you actually want to go after when it comes to your account. You want to go after inaccurate, whether the balance is wrong, the limit is wrong, or payment history is wrong. And secondly, you want to go after incomplete, missing critical information, right? So if the account is incomplete and missing some information, then listen, that's an area to attack. Unverifiable. If the bureau cannot confirm the information with the furniture, then that's technically unverifiable, and that has to come off your credit report. And thirdly, if the account is not yours, you can file identity theft with the FTC, right? So if the account is not yours, there's also an angle to dispute, and it's easier to get accounts that are not yours off of your report because they're not yours. Why are they there? Okay. Now, how do you actually win dispute? Well, one thing I've learned is that you actually want to build a case in the sense that the first time that you send your dispute letter, the credit bureaus will have 30 to 45 days to respond back. If you send a letter and 2 months goes by, you've not heard anything from them, then chances are they pretty much have violated the law. Because by law, they're supposed to reinvestigate any dispute that you send out. It's called reinvestigation because before they even report anything to your credit report, they were supposed to investigate that information, right? So they're supposed to investigate that information to make sure that it's actually your account, to make sure that it actually has your name on there, it's attached to an address that you leave. They have to verify all of that before they can even report it. That's why it's called a reinvestigation, right? So if you send out your first dispute and they don't get back to you within 60 days, they have technically violated the law. And that is good for you because that gives you leverage, right? Or another thing is you send out a dispute and it comes back verified. People get angry that the information is verified. If the information is clearly wrong and you know it's wrong, that is leverage for you. So don't get mad if you send out a dispute and it comes back verified. You just have to learn how to play this game. And the game that you're playing here is that you are keeping a track and a record of everything that you've done. You are keeping a record of the dispute letters that you send out. When you send them out, you are keeping a record of the certified mail that you send out. You have a digital receipt. You are tracking all of that, right? And if you file a complaint with the CFPB, you're keeping a record of all of that. So the more they come back and saying that the information is verified, even though you know that the information is wrong because you are an educated consumer, right? The thing is, a lot of people have bad credit because they don't understand their own rights. That's the thing. A lot of people have bad credit because they don't understand their own rights. It's within your rights that by law, they are supposed to report information that is accurate. So if the information is contradicting across all 3 CRAs, that is inaccurate. That is wrong. Okay? So if the information if you have duplicate accounts, let's say you have a collection with the original creditor, the collection company purchased that debt and they're also reporting the same collection, you can win a dispute easily because it's 2 collections. Why do you have 2 collections from the same one account, right? So information has to be accurate. If the data is inaccurate or the status of the account is inaccurate, easy wins. These are wins that you want to go after because, again, you want to build a case, right? So if account is showing that it's open on Experian and closed on Equifax, there's something wrong there. One of those is wrong because they cannot both be true. And if it's the same furnisher who is providing that information, that means that the furnisher made a mistake somewhere. Or the furnisher does not have the accurate information, right? So you want to think in that manner where you're trying to find things that are wrong. You're gonna hear out there that there's different. Yes, there's different ways that you can dispute your information. There is Metro 2 compliance. There is factual disputing. So the important thing to note here is that you should always use consumer laws because that's how you get them in trouble. If you try to, you can also use Metro 2 compliance to point out some major issues, but you're technically gonna win when it comes to consumer laws because that's the federal laws that protect you as a consumer. So if they get that you even understand your consumer laws and your rights and you know Metro 2 compliance, so don't just use one, use as many as you can, right? Use Metro 2 compliance, use consumer laws and prove that, hey, this is wrong because so on and so on and so forth. But you want to build a case. So I always keep a track record of everything. So here's some things that you don't want to do when it comes to disputing your information. If it's a late payment and you have no proof that you were actually made the payment, now again, I kind of want to save this one for later because they're technically supposed to send you a letter before they mark it as a late payment. So I kind of wanted to go over this later, and that's another way you can kind of attack it, right? The other way will be to send in a goodwill letter. Now, from my experience, goodwill letters, they're like 50-50. They don't always work. And you don't want to dispute saying, I don't like this account, or this account is hurting me personally, when you have not provided any evidence of the account being wrong. So when you are disputing, you are going after the accuracy of the account, unless the account is not yours. If the account is not yours, that's an easy win, right? Because the account is not yours. And I'm saying that is the reason why I'm saying that is because if the account is not yours, it's someone else's name, it belongs to another address that you never lived at, it's easy to get those removed, right? Timeline. So think of it like this: when you send out your first dispute, they will have about 30 days to 45 days to reinvestigate, and then the bureau must send a letter within 5 days of completing their investigation, right? That's kind of the timeline. So if you send out a letter, give them like at most 50 days to respond back. So if you haven't heard anything back in 30 days, don't feel hurt yet. But what you can do as well, something that I noticed is that when you send out a dispute on their platform online, you will be able to see your dispute faster on the dispute center for Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. So if you go to the dispute center, you'll be able to see the progress on that dispute. Sometimes the dispute could be closed online, but you have not heard anything back from them through mail. Okay. Now, which ways are the best ways when it comes to disputing? Well, for one, as I mentioned here, sending a mail, certified mail, will be the best way because you get to have a track record, a paper trail, per se. And the second way would be online. Now, when it comes to online disputing, I would recommend that you just dispute personal information online. I find it that it's easier to remove your personal information online compared to sending letters. It's also faster as well. The only one that has given me trouble where they want me to send a letter is Experian. Experian, if you cannot do it online, you might have to just send a letter. And this hardly works, but calling them on the phone as well, right? It's so hard to get a hold of them sometimes. All right, hack number 2 or hack number 1. When you are disputing, you should dispute inaccurate. Not this isn't fair, remove it. That's very emotional and vague. It's not. like what is that, right? So don't dispute with your emotion, dispute with facts, data, what you actually see, what you actually know. Your winning dispute package. Again, when it comes to sending out your letter, I highly recommend shouldn't be more than 2 letters. You just want to keep it straight, simple, and to the point. And you can send in a copy of that particular account, like a credit report of that account. Highlight what is wrong. The trick here that I feel as if you should use to your advantage, if the account has only a few things wrong, do not highlight all of them, or do not tell them this is wrong, this is wrong, this is. If it, let's say if it's less than 4 things that are wrong with that account, just tell them one thing that is wrong. Chances are they're gonna go back and fix that. So if you tell them that there's 4 things that is wrong with that account, they might just update that information. Well, the furniture might just update that information. Now you have nothing to attack. So think about that as well, because you want to play the long game where it's like a mind game, man. It's like a mind game with these people. So don't always point out everything that is wrong with that account on the first round. Tell them just, hey, this thing is wrong. It's within their duty to investigate and make sure everything else is wrong. So if you tell them this is wrong, they do an investigation, they come back and say verify. Well, guess what? You have leverage now, because there was 4 things that was wrong with that account. They only fixed 1 thing, right? That's another way to think about it. I've seen it so many times where you tell them everything that is wrong with the account, they come back, they update the entire account. Now you have no ammunition, you have no leverage whatsoever, because now the account is right, because you told them, hey, this was wrong, so they fixed it, right? So by law, they do have 2 options. They have the first option, which is to update the account, or the second option is to delete the account. If you tell them exactly what is wrong with the account, they'll just update it. So that is something to consider. So you want to play this for the long run and just be smart about it. Okay, and when you send out that dispute, make sure that it's actually certified mail. So that way you actually have a track record of what you send out. You able to have a receipt of when it was actually delivered. Okay. Going back, you do want to focus on accuracy and evidence, not emotional. So when you are arguing about that, you just be straight to the point, right? Don't try to bring in your feelings. Your feelings are not valid. Well, they're all valid. They're just not gonna help, right? They're not gonna help the situation, right? So just be straight to the point and clear, of course. All right. Another thing to note here is don't how can I put this? Don't dispute too many items at once, right? Don't dispute let's say it's a collection, charge off, late payment. Don't dispute all of those things on one letter. You should dispute collections. Let's say if you have more than 3 collections, you can dispute 3 collections. You can have a letter disputing all 3 collections. Then 1 letter disputing all late payment. Just separate them based on the items. Don't dispute this is a collection, charge off, this and this. You have 10 things that you are disputing on 1 letter. In fact, for the most effective way, I'll say don't have more than 4 things that you 4 accounts that you are disputing on the same letter. Now, this is kind of the hierarchy in terms of what's important based on what affects your credit the most. New late payments will always affect your credit or your score the most. Then you have collections and utilization and hard inquiry. But now this is just the order based on highest impact. But the first thing you actually want to attack is your personal information, and then go in this order. Well, personal information, then utilization, because it's something that you can just do on your own, and then go in that order. Okay. So if the goal is to get deletions, then you'll have to play this for the long run. So you want to make sure that you are building a paper trail. You are building a paper trail in terms of you're keeping the letters that you sent, you're keeping a copy of it, you are keeping the receipt when you mail out that letter, so you have a certified mail receipt per se. because disputing first with the bureau, I think, is one of the best strategies. Just dispute with the bureau first. So when you dispute with the bureau, your dispute letter goes into a machine called eOscar. eOscar reads that letter, and sometimes they'll just automatically say verify. So they didn't even contact the furnisher, right? But they are supposed to conduct a reinvestigation in which they reach out to the furnisher to confirm that account. If the account cannot be confirmed, then they have to delete the account. That's why sometimes when people dispute an account, they get some items removed right away because it was not verified. That's why I always say dispute with the bureau first, because the bureau will then turn around and pass over that information to the furnisher to confirm everything. So hack number 5 is method of verification. So if they send you, let's say it's your first dispute, you send them that first dispute and they responded with verify, you can then ask them for a method of verification. Like, how did you verify this information, right? Give me the documentation that you saw, so on and so forth. So you're asking them, how did they actually verify the information? Now, again, if an account comes back verify and it's clear that it's wrong, and you know that it's wrong, it is still reported inaccurately, that is leverage to you, because that tells us that they failed to conduct a proper investigation, which is them breaking the law, right? Now, what they might try to do is blame it on the furnisher, right? But still, it's their responsibility to make sure that your information is being reported accurately. Now, when you send in a letter that does not have enough information, they cannot identify you, they cannot identify that account, they can mark that account as frivolous, meaning that we cannot investigate this on their end, right? They can technically mark it as that. It's not against the law. That's why you have to send them information so they can identify you, a copy of your driver license, have your last 4-digit social security on that letter, as well as the account number for which the account that you are trying to dispute on that letter as well. That way they can verify, they can identify you and identify the account itself, right? And also, if you are sending the same dispute over and over again, they will mark it as frivolous and they will not investigate. And there's nothing you can do about that, because you're literally just wasting time. You're sending them the same letter over and over again. So don't do that. So here's our 3 big mistakes when it comes to disputing. For one is writing an emotional story or an emotional letter about how you don't like the account itself because it's negative, and also you are disputing accurate items. If you are disputing accurate items, listen, I kind of want to go more in details on this. It's we're gonna talk about this later, right? Because there's something that I noticed some people are doing. This is not any advice, but some people, what they're doing is, let's say if you have an account, it's actually accurate. It's being reported accurately. You can they will kind of force a mistake in the sense that they will say, hey, this date is wrong, please change it. And then once that date is changed for Experian, now you have created an error or inaccuracy by force on that account, right? So some people are doing it. It's a bit unethical if you ask me, but hey, not an advice. So also sending vague letters that are not to the point, will not help you in the long run. It was actually just gonna ruin your chance of actually getting what you want, right? So you do want to make sure that you are straight to the point. So here's some myth. There's a secret code that exists. That is false. There's no secret code. There's no secret anything. Everything that exists is out there. Everything that we know is out there. Another myth is that the 609 letter fixes everything or deletes everything. Well, no, it does not. That's also false. Another myth is that online dispute don't count. They do, because you can technically log into the dispute center and see exactly what the result of the investigation is, and either you're gonna download that or take pictures of it for you to have a record of it as well. So they do work. Another myth is that credit repair companies have a special access or special information that you guys don't. That's false. And here's also another thing. All of these people that promote credit sweep, that the 4 days credit sweep, right? That's that's fraud. Right? It's fraud in the sense that a lot of people will claim that, hey, I will clean your credit in 4 days, but then what they do is file identity theft on your behalf, right? So you can actually get yourself in more trouble doing that, because if it's an account that's negative, but you've made payment on that account in the past, you have you've had activity on that account in the past, and it's associated with your address that you are living in, and the payment were coming from your bank account. Now you're saying that it's fraud after you've been making payments for the last 2 years on this account. Like, there's ways that they can identify and know that it is was not identity theft. And in that case, you've actually committed a federal crime. That's why all of these people that come and say, oh, I can fix your credit in 30 days, they're a scam. They're probably doing something illegal, right? Because they have no access to any information that you don't have. Every information is out there. You can fix your own credit yourself. Um, Another myth is that just dispute everything. This is inaccurate. Just don't dispute everything. If you have a positive account that's helping you overall uh, credit file, don't dispute that account because it's helping you, right? If the account has all positive history, don't just dispute it just for the sake of disputing. So be very selective and only dispute negative items off of your report. Okay. So here is the step-by-step workflow. Choose 1 to 3 high impacting items or inaccuracies. Now, when it comes to choosing what to attack first, I always recommend that you first look at the last 2 years. The earlier that the negative items is, the more priority it is for you to attack. Okay, so you have late payments, charge-offs, collections. The earlier it is, the higher priority it should be on an attack list. And when you are writing an argument, just be clear, straight to the point. Don't try to use your emotion. That will not help, right? So you are creating a case in that sense. Okay. uh, Tracking timing, anywhere between 30 to 45 days. That's the investigation period. Okay. And again, remember to keep your proof, your evidence. Keep your mail certified letter. Keep track record of every letter that you send out. That way, if things ever escalate, you have the documentation of everything. Okay. And this is how a letter should look like. You have your header, your name, date of birth, address, date. You can also have your last 4 digit of your social on there as well. Subject line, opening statement, item details, the 1 to 3 items that you're gonna dispute, request of delete, house request for delete. And then you have a closing statement, maybe sign it at the bottom. And we talked about method of verification. Okay, this is your homework, I guess, but you don't have to do it. I'm saying you don't have to do it in the sense that just watch the entire next few modules first before taking action. All right. So that's pretty much concludes what I wanted to go over in this module. If you have any questions, let me know. Okay. See ya.